Let's stand. Number 622. Read the book. Bring out the message. There's a message true and glad for the simple and the sad. Bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. It will give encouragement, it will help them to be true. Bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, bring out the word for land and sea. Tell far from thee. Many have been said and now bring out the news that may been free to all the lost of every nation. Bring it out. Tell the world they free. Make it known in every place. Bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. Help the needy ones to know, and from whom all blessings flow. Bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, bring out the word for land and sea. Bring out the news that make men free to all the lost of every nation. Bring it out. Sin and death will sweep away. He'll come on a better day. Bring it out, bring it out. Tell the sinful world we want for Jehovah's mighty Son. Bring it out, bring it out, bring out the word for land and sea. Till far from Jesus many live in sin and doubt. Bring out all the lost of every nation. Bring it out.
We want to wish everybody once again a very good morning, and we are so thankful that you are with us here today. Our speaker today is Brother Wilbert Ansel. Brother Wilbert has long been a good friend of this congregation, and it is a blessing for us to have him here today. And we know that it'll be a blessing for you, the things that he will share with us, as they will come directly from God's Word. Brother Wilbert has asked that we read 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. 1 Corinthians chapter 10 and verse 13. Now I will be reading from the King James Version of the Bible here this morning. There hath no temptation taken you, but such is common to man. But God is faithful, who will not suffer you to be tempted above that which you are able, but will with the temptation also make a way to escape, that you may be able to bear it.
Good morning. It's good to be back in Papa Church once more time. I can back, my memory goes back to the little white building set up in the valley. And I remember seeing the oil lamps along the wall with a reflector behind them, and the Burnside stove sitting in the middle of the aisle. I told Chuck I probably have one of the oldest baptism dates that's in the congregation. I think it was 1942, probably in August. So you had one or two meetings a year, one in the spring and one in the fall, working so that the farmers could get off at that time. The hay was harvested and so forth. So it's always been a pleasure. I've been with it many, many years. I even know the horses, the church. I don't know how many people have done that, but then a friend of mine, we used to ride the horse to church. But getting back to the lesson, the name of the topic of my lesson today is, I hope I can make you understand where I'm coming from. The title is How a Boy from Worsted County Married a Girl from North Carolina. I believe that God works in mysterious ways. As we read this, as he read this verse, God provides ways of escape. How does he do that? How do we recognize it? So many times we pass the door or the gate where he made it, we weren't looking for it. So I think God has effect in our lives every day. We go through life and say, well, I'm lucky. I think we use that word too often, I'm lucky. I believe we should look at things in a different way. And one of the ways I usually try to look at it, and I gave you an example several years ago, Joyce and I were going down to visit her folks. I got to Marietta. We got to Marietta, and she said, I left my purse back at the house. I said, well, I'll drive back and get it, which is about a total of 28 miles. We got down about the Tamaracks and on the interstate, West Virginia Turnpike, and there sat a big semi that just caught on fire. If we hadn't came back, we might have been there by the time that happened. So we look at things and we say, boy, was I lucky. Were we? I think God is with us every day. And I hope when I get done with my lesson today, you can walk out of here with a lighter step and a grin on your face, knowing that God is with us all the time. So many times I see people, especially members of the church, we run around, we say we love God, we pray to God, we want Him to do all this, we don't see no results, and we go around with a long face. We as Christians ought to be the happiest people in the world. God loves us. He cares for us and He protects us. I like to think life is, Forrest Gump said, his mother said life is like a box of chocolate. You didn't know what you're going to get till you got it. But I like to think life is like a checker game. I don't know how many people play checkers. But the idea of a checker game is you move your checker so the other person will make a false move and you'll win. Reverse that. God moves the checkers so that we make the right move. He wants us to make the right move so we will win. But so many times we don't see that. There's things happen in our life beyond our control that makes us go one way or the other. As we go through life, day by day we come to forks in the road. Sometimes we have no choice, but other times we do have a choice. And lots of times Satan may try to block us, but God will make a way. He hopes we'll make the right choice. That puts us in certain places at certain times. We ought to be like the illustration I was reading the other day of an old widow woman put her last money in the collection, and she had nothing to eat, and she didn't know what she was going to do, and her neighbor was an atheist, and he heard her praying to God for her food. And he laughed at her, made fun of her. And he got to thinking, you know, I'm just going to go buy her groceries for next week and put it on the porch, and then I'll let her know where it came from. When she got up the next morning, and that was, thank God for this. And he looked said, you fool, I bought it for you. She said, no, thank God she made the devil pay for it. See, things happen that way. But we said, boy, was I lucky. I'll start and tell my life about probably 5 or 6 years of my life. One of the greatest mistakes I made, I never graduated high school. Science, what we do when we're young sometimes sets the course and hinders from doing things or maybe let us do things.
Amen.
And I realized that's always been a hindrance to me. But as such as it was, I started out and I quit school to help my father on the farm. And we dug coal, and then I cut timber, and I ended up going to Canton working in a steel mill. And I had an aunt that lived in Canton. And I spent a lot of time over there, and she did my laundry, of course, that saved me a little money. And I had a cousin. As I went there, we got to talking about the war and so forth, and talking about enlisting in service. And he said, if I was going to enlist, I would enlist in the Marine Corps. Well, I didn't. Back then, we didn't have all the fancy stuff we got today, and I didn't know much about service, even though my older brother died in the Second World War. And I said, well, why would you want to go to the Marine Corps? Well, he said, they got the fanciest uniforms, and they get all the credit, and blah, blah, blah. I said, they're the best, I would join that. Well, after about a year in Canton, I left and came back home to join a branch of service. And I had a friend, and we hitchhiked to Columbus. We wanted to join the Merchant Marines. We got up there, and they said, we don't need anybody. We're full. Can't use anybody. So we came back and said, well, let's join the Navy. So I went to the Navy. When I said I didn't graduate, so we don't even want to talk to you. So that was out, and my friend joined the Navy anyway, he went. Well, down on Front Street, down about where the Salvation Army is, you could join the Air Force, be the Army Air Force at that time, or the Army or the paratroopers. The Marine Corps recruiting was Parkersburg. I didn't know what was in Parkersburg. So I went down and I talked to the Army recruiter and talked about joining the paratroopers. He said, well, it was worth $50 more a month if I joined the paratroopers because it was hazardous duty. So I went back up on the corner of Putnam Street in Washington, and Front Street, stood there with the parking meter probably for 30 minutes. What am I going to do? And I said, well, I walked over to Virginia Street, and where the bypass is now, there was a filling station set there, and the ramp went up down to Parkersburg. I walk over there, and I'll hitchhike for 30 minutes. If I don't get a ride, I'm going to come back and join the paratroopers. I walked over there, and I stood there and walked out. The very first car came along. I put my thumb up, and the car pulled over. I said, where are you going? I said, I'm going to Parkersburg and join the Marine Corps. So I'll drop you off in front of the place. See, I didn't even know where it was. And that's what he did. Well, I got on the train, went from Huntington, where I was sworn in, went to Parris Island, graduated October 28, 1948. I came home on leave for 10 days and went back, and I was in a place where they waiting to transfer you. And I was probably there, maybe a week and a half. And they said, the sergeant wants to see you. And I went in and I said, what do you want? He said, well, they shipped your brother back from overseas, and they want you home for the funeral. And he said, now, we can do it two ways. We can send you up there and you come back here and we'll transfer you with everybody. Or we can send you a base and you just go from home to the next place of operation. I said, well, what would you do if you was me, Sarge? But I had no idea. He said, if I was you, I would take it. And of course, the base was Cherry Point, North Carolina. I said, okay, that's where I'm going. Well, I came home and buried my brother. Got to Cherry Point, and they lost my clothes, my bag. I went in and I had to fall out to work detail. Of course, I had Class A uniform. I was out trying to shine brass, and off comes and said, what are you doing shining brass in a Class A uniform? I said, well, I don't have that now. He said, well, you can't do that. So they sent me back to the barracks. So for about a week or 2 weeks, I would answer the phone and did whatever. I got real friendly with the sergeant there. And the day my baggage came in, my clothes came in, he got transferred out that morning. 222, and lo and behold, at noon I got transferred to 222 as well. Probably one of the last outfits that flew Corsairs. I was in that unit for about a year. And I got they did away with it, they completely did away with it. And they sent me to the engine shop, Corsair engine shop. I was in there about a week or two, and they sent me to the jet engine shop. In the jet engine shop, it was very small, probably 5 or 6 of us all together. And there was 2 of them there that was going on Liberty about 85 miles from Cherry Point. He said, why don't you go on Liberty with us? I said, why do I want to do that? Belhaven on Liberty. They said, well, the people up there are friendly, and said they don't walk across the street when they see a Marine come, and said they treat you like we're human beings. So I said, okay, we'll go. So me and my buddy, we went with them, was following them. And I never told anybody about this. But on the way up, it was almost there, and I said to myself, what in the world are you going to 85 miles to go on Liberty when you got to be back by the time you go to work? And I said to myself, how do I know that maybe I will meet my wife there? Why else am I going? Well, I got up there, and it was a small town. I had one red light. I think they've only got 4 or 5 now. Had one red light in it. And there was a place where all the young boys and girls met. They called it the Dr. Pepper shop. They had a little bar where they could serve you sandwiches in a juice box. And a little place where I guess you could dance. And that's where everybody congregated. Well, I went there for a while, and I probably dated some of Joyce's next door neighbors. And many times I'd go up there and didn't have money, and all the girls would scrape up the money so they could ride. I could haul them around in the car. Well, I went up there one night, and I went into the Dr. Pepper shop, and they sold there. Except one. come from, but she was the only one. Imagine you walk in and one person sitting in the church here. And I walked over and I said, where is everybody? And she said, well, they must be down in the community building. We introduced herself and she said, I'm 16 years old and never been kissed. I said, well, I'll take care of that right now. And from that day on, we started going together. See, how did that happen? Why was only one person there? And then we went together for about a year. I met her on her birthday. And we talked about getting married when I got discharged. And of course, the Korean War broke out. And they extended everybody's time for a year. And I was working on my plane jet one day, and my crew chief or my first mech came out and he said, the sergeant wants to see you. And he was kind of down the dump because he was told he was going to Korea. And they changed that. He was not going. So I went in and I said, what do you want? He said, well, your first mech's not going to Korea, but you are. So I went and told Joyce, I said, well, I've got orders, I'm going to Korea. So she kind of indicated we wanted to get married, and don't ever say you'll never do nothing. Because I always thought, and still kind of believe that way, married to a military person is not really a wise move. I never thought. So I really was hesitant. So I said, talk to myself, well, I asked her mother, and their mother will probably say no. So we went and I said, well, I'm going to Korea, and we thought about maybe getting married. What do you think about it? He said, well, was you going to get married? If you hadn't went, I said, we probably would. He said, well, I don't know why you need to wait then. So I said, well, let's go to your sister. And her sister said, well, I absolutely need to get married. So that's how we got married. We planned on getting married on July the 4th, but had to take a blood test, and it didn't get back to July the 5th. So we got married on July the 5th, 1951. July the 5th, we've been married 67 years. Now, I know this sounds unbelievable, but you can ask the children. Of course, you get old, you forget things, you know. I don't remember of her ever raising her voice to me, and I don't think I ever raised my voice to her, unless I wanted her to come and do something of that nature. But in an argument, I'm sure we disagreed on things. But we have got along, and I think when you have a wife, and we ought to think about this, when you have a wife that God gave you, you respect her and honor her. And I think things happen in her life like that, sometimes beyond our control. As we go down the road, and there's a fork in the road, and maybe you think it's one way, but look at the things that happened in my life that put me where I met her that was beyond my control. What if I had joined the paratroopers? Or what if I had went back to base and got transferred? Or what if I had been transferred to another place rather than the jet engine shop? See, all those things in life put you in certain places, maybe where God wants you. You ever think about, why did Tom ask me to come here? I don't know. But I was on Facebook one day and he said, hey, that was last spring. would you like to be the speaker, or could you be the speaker on our homecoming in November? I said I could probably work that out. And I thought about this lesson back then. But then I had a selfish reason to give it once we decided we was going to come. And Dave came by and he said, you know they'll be recording that? I said, that settled it. I gave this lesson at Barnett Ridge probably 5 or 6 years ago on the first of July. I might have been on our wedding anniversary, I don't know. And I did it with the idea of taping it and putting it on a CD to give to all my children. And when they said they could tape it, and I talked to Tom, I said, yeah, we can tape it and you can put it onto this. Now that settled it. That's the lesson I'm going to give you. But think about this. Each one of us is here today to worship God, aren't we? Some of you may have came, maybe with knew what reason. You think maybe God put you here so that you respond to the gospel? Maybe you've been a member and you've wandered back out into the world. But all of a sudden you find yourself here this morning. You think maybe God had a hand in that? See, God always works for the children he loves, and he loves people who obey him. And even people out in the world have never responded. Think about maybe how you come to be out to being baptized by somebody teaching you, or something happened to put you in certain places. God wants everyone to be saved. But being a just God, he's not going to save everybody because they simply won't obey him. I've often said, for people going to hell, and that's those who don't respond to the gospel and don't obey it. God put so many roadblocks in that road that they just detour and blunder around and go through it. And if anyone goes to hell, it's not God's fault. It's our fault. God made every plan and every provision to get us to go to heaven. And he's doing everything to keep us so that we can go to heaven. We're not tempted, or we don't have no trials. But he provides a way of escape. Some say, well, what about sickness and stuff? You know, all the positions you and I find ourselves in today, 95% or 99% is because of us, not somebody else, not because of God. So what about people who have cancer or something? You know who I blame that on? This corruptible body we have. We live in a sinful world. And that's not our fault. That's Adam and Eve and Satan's fault. Adam and Eve chose not to be in the garden, and we are paying the consequences. Now, we don't have their sin, but we live in a sinful world, and we have a corrupt body. And this body is subject to all kinds of diseases and ailments. That's not God's fault. See, the world thinks that God, if we obey the gospel, everything's going to come up roses. That's not true. That doesn't mean we can't go through life and face life with a happy face, knowing that God wants you to go to heaven, and he'll make ways so that you can go there. And don't go through life, and boy, was I lucky. Boy, was I smart. I figured that out. No, give God the thanks. We're just his lovely children, servants of his, trying to do what is right, and yet we'll stumble and we'll fall, and we'll make mistakes. Isn't it great to know that if we confess our sins to Him in our prayer at night, that the blood of Jesus just cleanses us again, so that when we die, we can walk through life with a smile on our face, knowing that God has a place far greater than we could even imagine, and heaven for those who obey Him. See, God said, all you have to do is believe in me. And I think the word belief or trust in God has lost its meaning. I believe you could put another word there instead of believe, and that word would be obey me. See, the belief or the trust in God is a trust that is so trustworthy and so, we believe in so much that we just obey Him. I've used the example. Suppose somebody runs through the door and said the building's on fire. If you believed them, what would you do? Well, I've read a case where people were trapped to death where people were trying to get out. But yet we have a world full of people take Jesus into your heart and bang, you're saved. When is you free from sin? When you obey that form of doctrine that was delivered to you, death, burial, and resurrection in Jesus. If you're here this morning and you haven't done that, I hate to say this, but you are in a lost condition. Do you obey and respond to the gospel? Yes, it's free. And I think that's another mistake the world has. You know, we say, well, you have to earn your salvation. See, the work when we're saved, when our sins are washed away, we haven't done anything. Except for respond to the gospel. Now, once I have my sins washed away, what is my responsibility? Do the work that God set out for us. That doesn't save me, but it will condemn me. God expects us to be obedient servants. And we do the work of God. What is righteous work? Just doing the things that God said. If you're here this morning, why don't you respond if you need to? I'll be glad to assist you or Tom would in any way that you can to make sure that heaven will be your home. We stand and sing.